Montessori Education as a New Method for Teaching Colors in Design Basics, a case study for foundation level, presented by Associate Professor Hadeel Farahat, Dr. Dalia Abdelmuhaymin. Introduction. Montessori is a method of education that is based on self-directed activity, hands-on learning, and collaborative play. This method, based on observation and evaluation of students' development, which is a fundamental key of the Montessori method. Color is one of the fundamental elements of art. It's important for art students to not only to be exposed to color theory, but also to understand it. By studying colors, students are able to embrace their own activity and create their own masterpieces. One of the introductory art lessons is that of mixing colors and understanding the color wheel. When we are talking about the research problem, we are talking about two main problems. Number one is the use of general rules and concept of Montessori to achieve a new method of color education to reframe students' knowledge. Also, we can find that teachers are the leaders and students are expected to follow them without think by themselves. In this research, we are aiming to take an advantage of the uses of Montessori methods in teaching colors for foundation level in arts and design faculties. Also, we need to help beginning students to grasp the concept of color theory and color schemes to help them advance through the curriculum with new skills. The importance in this research that we are trying to use the concept of Montessori as a new way of teaching colors in design basics for foundation level in arts and design faculties. To achieve that, students have self-confidence, self-correction, and liberty to choose and act freely in using colors. In this research, we assume that using Montessori education as a new method for teaching colors can help in teaching design basics for foundation level in faculties of art and design. Being a part of education can build up students' confidence and their self-correction. This research is based on an inductive approach and to a descriptive analytical approach for different designs done by foundation students. The key elements of the Montessori methods is about the self-education, the individual instructions, also didactic materials, which usually we start with the simple learning tools for toddlers, then gradually we start to move for a more complicated and complex materials. We have to prepare a special environment for our students. The teacher, as a trained directress, she has to make sure that everything needed is within the children's reach. When we are taking Montessori methods versus traditional one, we can find there are many different things between the two methods. In Montessori, they are emphasizing on the concrete. The learning environment is child-centered. Children, they provide their own stimulation and motivation to learn. Also, materials are designed to promote self-education, self-correction. Children may talk freely, provided they are not disturbing others. It's fine for them. Teachers are guides only. They are encouraging for children to act and think by themselves. But in the traditional way, it's a little bit different. We can find that they are emphasizing on the abstract. The teacher is the center of attention. Also, teachers, they provide to stimulate and drive the learning process. Playing materials for non-specific skills. Children have to keep quiet unless if we ask them to answer a question or if they are invited to ask a question, things like that. The teacher is the leader and children are expected to follow. So we can find there's difference between the Montessori methods and the traditional one. When we are talking about the Montessori benefits, we can find that Montessori education offers our students opportunities to develop their own potentials as they step out into the world. Each student is valued and unique individuals. Montessori students develop order, coordination, concentration, and independence. Students are part of a close, caring community. Montessori students enjoy freedom within limits, and they are supported in becoming active seekers of knowledge. Self-correction, self-assessment are an
Colors and Montessori. Colors is all around us from the time we were born, and it is affecting our everyday life in many ways. By becoming aware of the power of color and its effects on our emotion, we can learn how to make positive change in our lives. Color is a byproduct of the spectrum of light. It is reflected or absorbed as received by the human eye and processed by the human brain. Color derives from the spectrum of light, interacting in the eye with the spectrum of the light receptors. When we look at an abstract artwork, your brain searches for signs of rhythm and order to try make special sense of the image. Our selection of artworks illustrated below have been chosen because they all use color in an expressional manner. We have analyzed each of these to demonstrate how creative students use this visual element as a creative force in their work. Experiment 1. Phase 1. Tools, papers, different types of colors, gouache, watercolors, brushes. Analysis. First, students use lines. Use freehand and continuous lines to express the personal energy and to lead the eye in certain direction. Tone. Use half tone to create a dramatic atmosphere. Example A and B. Use contrast of tones to create a sense of distance and rhythm within a composition. Example C and D. Use saturated tone to create a contrast of light and dark. Example E. Colors. Students use light primary colors, green and blue, for example A and B. Use contrast of colors, example C and D. Use optical mixtures of different colors, example E. Phase 2. Tools, papers, oil, colors, brushes, water, turpentine. Analysis. Textures. Students use different types of texture to define the surface quality of an artwork. Uses the roughness, example A and B. Uses the smoothness, example C and D. In the four designs, the student uses the textures in two ways. Optically, through sight, they use the skillful painting technique to create the illusion of textures. Physically, they draw with expressive brush strokes whose textures conveys the physical and emotional energy. Tone. Students use different types of tones to create the contrast of the lightness and the darkness of a color and to create the illusion of form. Color. Students use color proportion to create the impact of the relative quantity of a given hue or value. Use it in color compositions to achieve overall unity and create consistency. Phase 3. Tools, colored papers, and glue. Analysis. Line. The students use different types of lines. Broken lines to express the effect. Thin lines to express the depth. And thick lines to express the strength. 2. Pattern. The student using different collage by repeating or echoing the elements of an artwork to communicate a sense of balance, harmony, contrast, rhythm, or movement. They used man-made patterns by creative and compositional patterns of lines and shapes with all types, regular, irregular, organic or geometric, structured or decorative, positive or negative, and repeating or spread to create a more decorative pattern of color, tone, and texture across the world. Color. Students used optical mixtures of different colors. The very colors are used in each element depending on the choice of dominant color, the feeling of the composition, and even the appearance of each color is added. Then, the students feel freedom to choose the material to encourage them to explore the material they use. And we give them the instructions one page. We allow the students to listen to the music during the study. Experiment 2. Tools, computer. Analysis. The student uses different approaches of color in artwork. Color as form, as contrast, as tone, as movement. To create the illusion of form, a contrast of light and dark, a sense of depth and distance, a rhythm or pattern within composition. Then, in phase 1, the students develop themselves through coordination, concentration, and independence. They enjoy freedom within limits during the study. In phase 2, as the mature, the students learn to look correctly at their work and become adaptive at recognizing, correcting, and learning from their errors.